I had Ringo's message, and he goes, "Hi, Andy, Ringo here for Harry. I might be your button.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Hunt, and today I get the great pleasure of speaking with a man that has played with legends like Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Harry Nilsson, and of course the bands he was in like Geronimo Black and the Turtles featuring Flo and Eddie for about 40 years. Mr. Andy Cahan has recently released an autobiography called The Most Famous Musician You've Never Heard of. And I was hoping to receive a copy in the mail, but I haven't gotten it yet, but it looks like you tell the story with pictures of yourself.
It was the most fun project I've ever had in my life. This is what I looked like in 1975. That's me, right next to me. That's what I look like.
So absolutely gorgeous. This.
I can do a half face thing. That would be cool. Do a little CGI, right?
Yeah, it's looking great.
And put that body on me now? Holy shit. Wow. But yeah, I saved all my archives, all the contracts and calendars and photographs and vinyl and tape and everything. I saved it all, and I put it all on my living room floor in manila folders. And I built the book, and it took years to finally get it self-published on Amazon.
It's upside down, but it's awesome. That looks great.
Oh yeah, you know, it's modern technology.
So on my channel, typically I talk about a band's story from the beginning. So I was kind of hoping to ask you, you know, what got you into music? And then I guess you were in a surf band to start out?
Yes, it was called the Jaguars.
Okay.
And we did surf music. This is at the same point in time that Flo and Eddie did their surf music called the Crossfires. Same time period.
Interesting.
So mine was on the East Coast, but we still had the Ventures and all the great surf music back east. So we played Fender Jaguars. There were 3 Fender Jaguars, which was the Rolls Royce of the Fender. It was the top of the line Fender.
Right.
And it had all the bells and whistles and all the toys. So we had a surf band, and we did surf music, and I played the Thomas organ. And that was my first entry into a band.
And that was instrumental. But after that, you had another band, and you would start writing music, or is that right?
Yes. Yeah. I met the lead singer at high school.
Okay.
He was in several of my classes, and at lunch we would talk. You know, I'm a keyboard. I really love the Beatles. I'd love to play. Let's start a band. What do you do? You know, it's that whole shit that happens when you meet kids in high school. And so we started a band with a drummer named Sandy Jack Reiner and a guitar player named Larry Kramer. And we cut this unbelievable track at, it's called A&R Studios in 1968. It was owned and operated by Roy Cicala. He's the guy who built the record plant recording studios.
Okay.
And he engineered everybody from Hendrix to Lennon to Nilsson, everybody. He's done everybody. So he was my first engineer in the studio in 1965. That was a pro, you know, a real guy. So he suggested I do piano overdubs, and he arranged the song, and he was a genius. And that one song gave me fame as a cult band, garage band, underground hit. It was called She's Gone Away. I don't know if I ever sent you that link.
Yeah, I've listened to that a couple of times today. Yeah, that was a good one for sure.
And it was duplicated many times by many out of the country record labels.
Really?
And then a band on stage in Belgium. Did a YouTube video of them performing that song.
Uh-huh.
So I went crazy. I said, hi, it's Johnny Farfisa. It's
Right.
me. That's me.
Right.
So they did an interview with me, and Munster Records in
Uh-huh.
Spain did 2 albums with me, a Geronimo Black album and a Johnny Farfisa album
Mm-hmm.
with the red Farfisa organ, like Sam the Sham and Paul Revere and Come On Down to My Boat Baby and 96 Tears and all that old Farfisa organ. So it was
So that was
similar to the Vox Continental that the Dave Clark 5 and the Beatles used. It
right.
was Vox, the
Uh-huh.
British version of the, but Farfisa is from Italy. And they were really ahead of their time. Man, they were so cool. And I wish I had that same 1965 Farfisa organ today. I tell you.
I bet it sounds great.
I know.
So
I'm
that was
talking.
your stage name then, huh? Johnny Farfisa? How long did that
Yeah, I
last?
became Johnny Farfisa, and actually, I was on the road with Little Richard in 1975.
Wow.
And this kid who bought that record with Johnny Farfisa knew it was Andy Kahn. And
Uh-huh.
are you the same Andy Kahn from this? And this
Right.
is in New Zealand. In
Wow.
New Zealand, one kid runs up to me, Johnny Farfisa, Johnny
Wow.
Farfisa.
Crazy world, huh?
It's hilarious. And I take all these stories and I put them in my book. So it's random shit. And it's you can go to any page you want. You just open it up and go, okay, here's a page. What is this about? Well, this one happens to be about my tour as the 2.5 man show with Flo and Eddie. So,
Okay.
you know,
So that's why you were referred to as the half man at times.
yeah, those are the mug shots from the, passport. Those are the passport
Uh-huh.
pictures.
It's awesome.
So it's really cool shit. It's full of a lot of great stuff. It's just a lot of fun. And the reviews on Amazon have been really good.
Because it's kind of meant to be a coffee table book, so anyone can just pick it up.
It's heavy. I mean, the freaking thing, it's a freaking book.
Right.
I mean, it's a coffee table. That's what I always envisioned.
Uh-huh.
I never enjoyed reading. I always
Uh-huh.
like to look at pictures.
And who are these people in this?
Harry Nilsson and Jimmy Webb.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And Harry Nilsson
There's
on
Nilsson. I was kind of thinking.
a Shure microphone in my living room on a 4-track cassette.
That's awesome. So how did you meet Nilsson? I'm a huge Nilsson fan.
I always dreamt of meeting him. I did always. One of my ex-wife's boyfriends looked like Harry Nilsson. And it brought this thing, and I bought every Harry Nilsson record because the Beatles said he was their favorite singer-songwriter from
the States.
So he was a Beatle to me. He was the 5th Beatle, literally, beside Brian Epstein and Mal Evans and everybody on the crew, Neil Aspinall and all that. Anyway, I was hired to drive a limousine and pick up celebrities and take them to Universal City Studios. And in the amphitheater, right in the parking lot above it, they would set up radio tents. And in each tent was a different radio station from across the country. So my job was in the limo to pick up celebrities, take them to the tent, and then Flo and Eddie had their own radio show on K-Rock after Howard Stern. And this was their tent, and I had my keyboard. And what we did was play the hit record of the celebrity guest and
Okay.
then also do Happy Together. Very, very successful show. Great
Uh-huh.
show. Everybody loved it. They had everybody in the world on that show. It was incredible. But Harry Nilsson was one of the guests, and I drove out and picked him up in the limo. And he says, I ain't sitting in the back. I'm sitting with you.
Right.
So it's there. And my girlfriend smoked Virginia Slims 120 lights, the long, skinny cigarette.
Uh-huh.
And so I was hooked on Virginia Slims 120 lights. So Harry said, "You want a light?" Sure. What are you smoking? I said, "They're Virginia Slims." And then he said, you're taking one of mine. You know, and he handed me a Camel.
Uh-huh.
And you know, there I was smoking a Camel with Harry,
Uh-huh.
stuck in the 405 freeway. You know,
Right.
all we could do was just talk.
Yep.
And I said, "You're fucking my idol, dude."
Uh-huh.
I said it like that. I said, "God damn it, you're fucking Harry Nilsson. You're fucking the guy who John and Paul and George and Ringo love. You're the guy."
Uh-huh. Right.
And I said, "You're sitting right next to me."
Yeah.
And he was laughing and laughing. And then, you know, he started to tell me these incredible stories about Keith Moon.
Mhm.
He's really close with Keith Moon
Right.
and Mama Cass.
Mhm.
And, you know, everybody was all interrelated with their fun.
Mhm.
They always would hang out and have fun. But anyway, he told me that Keith Moon and Mama Cass both stayed in his London flat.
Right.
He would say, "You can stay at my place, you know, if you're in
You
London."
can die in the bed too, Andy.
So you knew about that. So anyway, both of them died in his London flat for different reasons.
Right.
But
Not funny. Sorry for laughing. It's
yeah,
sad, but it's ironic. It's interesting.
I was watching The Who do a wonderful song. I even, "Ooh, darling, oh, 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 oh."
Uh-huh.
I can't remember the title. Anyway, it was a fucking amazing video because Keith Moon,
Mhm. He's amazing.
I mean, the expressions on this guy's face were just the best. That's what you call rock and roll. I
Right.
mean, Dino Danelli from the Young Rascals,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
He would be propped up and he'd go, and it was just amazing. And he'd go up and down strokes on the cymbals, boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Nobody did that.
Uh-huh.
And he would do all these acrobatics with the drumsticks. Same thing that Johnny Barbada did with the Turtles.
Brutal.
If you look at all the Turtle videos, you see Barbada doing all these twirling acrobatic moves. And all it is straight four, bum, 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 bum. But
Right.
he's going boom, 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 wank, boom, wank, boom, boom. It's
Love it.
fucking entertainment.
Yeah.
That's what a musician is equal to an actor. You're
So,
dealing with
have you met John Barbada? Sorry to cut you off, but have you met Johnny Barbada?
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
great.
I bet.
We did it in 1975. We did a Jefferson Starship Red Octopus tour with Marty Ballin, Gracie Slick,
Mhm.
and I can't remember David Freiberg,
Wow.
and I can't remember everybody's goddamn name.
Yeah, but you got
And
along with all those guys. I bet that was great.
and Johnny Barbada was their drummer.
Uh-huh.
So we were on the bill. So every night, Barbada would guest drum on "She'd Rather Be With Me" and "Happy,"
Uh-huh.
and maybe Eleanor too. But we did Eleanor, but boom, 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 boom. It was fast.
Mhm.
But the original recording was boom, 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 boom.
Mhm.
It was a slower tempo.
Mhm.
But artists like Flo and Eddie or other people like to get they don't play the original music. And Paul McCartney said in an interview, they come to hear the record. They want to hear what the band sounds like live. And that's what Paul McCartney does better than anybody I know. Paul Simon's good at it because he's Paul Simon. He's a genius.
Yeah.
But Paul McCartney, that band is fine-tuned to the record. Their keyboard player covers every instrument in the Beatle production that George Martin put in after the track was done, when he put the horns and the strings and the sound effects. It's incredible. His show is the most amazing show you'll ever see, ever.
Right.
Have you seen it?
Paul McCartney? Yeah, I've seen Paul McCartney at there's an arena here in Sandy, Utah, and I saw Paul McCartney over there, and it was obviously a dream come true. I never thought I'd get to see a Beatle, and I've seen Ringo too, but you've gotten to meet Ringo. Have you met Paul McCartney as well?
Yes, I did. I was a hand reach away because this was at that same K-Rock Universal Theaters event where I met Harry Nilsson. McCartney did a mass interview. So they filled up the outdoor amphitheater with all the radio station people, and they were sitting in the bleachers. These are all celebrity radio station guys from across the country. So on the stage was Paul McCartney and his bodyguard, who looked like the Chinese guy in Goldfinger with the hat, and he throws the hat. He looked just like that guy. Anyway, so Paul McCartney is answering questions from these radio personalities. And when Mark Volman said, we'd like to find out about what's going on with Linda's book or something, and Paul looked at Mark from the stage and he went, holy shit. And he gets up and he walks up the bleachers to where we were standing. And he shook everybody's hand and walked back down. He thanked us for being there.
Wow.
And it was fucking Paul.
Yeah, I love Paul. He's a hero for sure. So
are you kidding? I would not even be involved with what I'm doing if it wasn't for the Beatles, period.
No, for sure. 100%.
Ringo was my teacher. I learned how to play the drums by going dun dun chat, dun dun chat, and I learned. Oh, is that how? That's it.
But he does a little swing with his right hand or his left hand.
Well, he's left-handed, like Paul McCartney's left-handed.
Oh, but he still plays with his right, though. Is the thing, huh?
He plays with his right, but instead of it starting with this hand, it starts with the other hand. So he goes.
I remember trying to learn a fill, and you have to start it left-handed or you can't do the fill properly.
I know. When I do a fill, I always start with my left hand. You know,
because you were trained by Ringo.
Well, that's because I'm a lefty, or it just feels right for me. That's how I do a flam with my left hand first.
Right.
That's how I do a flam. But rolls, I am always starting with my left hand, always. And Ringo, I think, is opposite. I could be corrected, but Ringo, I think, is opposite because he's left-handed. So he'll start with his right hand. So his fills, I think, we'd have to look.
I think he starts with his left hand. I think he starts with his left hand.
Yeah, you should call him up and ask him.
You should call him up and ask him.
After what happened, his manager or his attorney was they were a little bit angry at me.
What happened?
I was a demo doctor. I would have people come into my living room. Eric Carmen and Jimmy Webb and Harry Nilsson and Ringo came into my living room, and we recorded children's stories. You know, and it was a narration that later on Van Dyke Parks and Harry and I would put the music to the Ringo's talking. It was like a premonition come true, because when I was in 1965, I dreamt there was a beetle in my house and had his shoes off.
Right.
So in 1991 or two, Ringo came over to my house and sat next to me and took his shoes off.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow,
There
I
it was.
forgot what.
Wow. Hey, one that's kind of interesting. Why were you known for Daydream Believer in any sense? I saw Mark say that or whatever. Or
There
Howard
was a
said that in a video.
there was a time period when I left the band for about 6 years. My life changed, and I rejoined the band. And the keyboard player who plays with the Beach Boys now, I forgot his name because I'm stoned, but he's a great guy. And he said, Flo and Eddie have a routine in the show. For each musician, they make believe that musician did something they didn't do.
Yeah.
It's entertainment, it's showbiz, it's funny, it's Flo and Eddie's sense of humor, satire. So I had to learn Daydream Believer because they get on the microphone and they say, everybody listen to this. Our keyboard player, Andy, does Daydream. And I play the little, and everybody applauds and they think I'm a star. Well, I sort of lied because I am on an album. It's called Pool It on Rhino Records. And that's Davey, Mickey, and Peter, I think. I don't remember. And I wasn't there in the studio with Davey, but I was hired to do the piano part on I Will Love You Forever. Davey wrote that on Pool It. And later on, when we did a show in Belgium with the Flo and Eddie and the Turtles, I sat next to Davey on the airplane. And all we did was talk about horses. He loved horses.
Wow. So it seems like meeting Flo and Eddie really changed your life, though. How did you meet Flo and Eddie, and how did that all go down?
I was playing with Jimmy Carl Black. Now, Jimmy Carl Black was the Indian of the group with Frank Zappa's first albums. You know, Help, I'm a Rock. That was my favorite Frank Zappa song. Was Dun Dun Check, Dun Dun Check, Dun Dun Check, and that was Ray Collins saying those words. And Ray Collins later played with me with Jimmy Carl Black and Bunk Gardner in Geronimo Black. That's on that album that I just released from Spain. And he actually says on stage, "Help, I'm a Rock."
Yeah.
And we're playing at Lompoc Prison. And that was just really great. So anyway, I'm playing with Jimmy Carl Black and Frank Zappa. You know, they broke up and we started a band called Geronimo Black with Jimmy and me and Bunk and Denny Wally and Tom Levy and TJ Contrelli. Anyways, so Frank Zappa calls up Jimmy Carl Black and says, "We're doing a movie, 200 motels. You're in it. Come to rehearsal." So who's singing the background vocals on Lonesome Cowboy Burt? So they shot the movie. It was a hit. And Flo and Eddie and I met again at a 4-track recording studio in Topanga Canyon in Los Angeles. And it was called Cherokee. And it's where they recorded Ricky, Don't Lose That Number. That was just a 4-track machine. Anyway, so I'm there overdubbing a keyboard part, organ, on the Little Richard Let the Good Times Roll movie. They wanted me to just do some organ fills when it got empty. So I filled in all these spots on the organ. And Flo and Eddie were doing a cartoon soundtrack for a movie called Dirty Duck. That was Merricombe Swenson Wolf, you know, very famous cartoonist animation production. So they did a cartoon, an X-rated cartoon. But the lead song was called Cheap. This is a cheap little concert, and we are cheap little guys. We're going to abuse your eardrums. We're going to make fun of your eyes.
I love it.
whole concert is a great big hunk of shit, yeah. And they did it in these incredible harmonies.
Mamas
And
and Papas style.
better. I mean, Mark Volman and Howard Kaylan were hired by everybody, from Bruce Springsteen to Blondie. They did Bang a Gong, Get It On with T-Rex. You know, Ringo Starr loved T-Rex. There's videos of YouTube of Ringo Starr playing with T-Rex. It's just, it's a great history, that Bang a Gong, Get It On. And that's Flo and Eddie going, bang a gong, get it on.
Oh, wow.
That's high shit. And
yeah, I didn't know that.
Howard Kaylan, the lead vocalist for the Turtles,
Uh-huh.
is the best and one of the best. I mean, he's equal to everybody who sings their ass off, including Paul McCartney, John Lennon, Little Richard. Howard Kaylan is equal. He's not an inch or an iota below that. He is equal to that. He's one of the world's best.
Can you call him up and talk to him right now? He's your best buddy, right?
I wish I could. There's a situation that has happened with his health.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's laying low. So that's all I can say. He's a beautiful, creative. He looks like me. I look like him. We both have gray hair and glasses and shit. And we wear hats because we don't have any more. There's nothing up here. It's all in my book. This shit. I look like you there, for God's sakes. Right? Look at that. That's you. It's the same.
There we go. It's the same thing.
What are you, 20? How old are you?
I'm 32 or 33. I just turned 33 the other day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you still got a lot of youth.
Thank you.
You ever see that movie with Ute?
Nope.
Yeah, I forgot. My Cousin Vinny.
Uh-huh.
If you Google My Cousin Vinny.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm on the your telephone right now, and you're looking at me going, what the fuck is he doing? Anyhow, you can Google the most famous musician you've never heard of. And I'll pop up and you can see a chapter from my book, and there you go.
Of course, I'll put links down in the description as well. So whatever links and however to find you. How else should people find you? I know you're easy to reach on Facebook.
The easiest way is when you Google that, it takes you to the website that my editor. Wait 1 second. I'm dying of thirst. Okay, what was I just saying? I forgot.
No worries. Let's I was going to ask you, so is the first time you met Ringo Starr when Harry brought him to your house, and did you not expect that to happen?
Oh, I expected it. I have a phone call from Ringo that I saved. It was on the Phone Mate phone machine. It had reel-to-reel tape. You just go record, play, rewind, fast forward, you know, a little button. And I had Ringo's message, and he goes, "Hi, Andy, Ringo here for Harry. I might be able to okay." And I forgot what he said, but Ringo, and I saved it.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
So, yeah. So the only bummer was, you know, putting his picture in an advertisement for my demo doctor business. It pissed his attorney off. So they told me to pull the photograph out of the advertisement. That's the only
I
thing.
see. That's what it was. Okay. So you're still in good relations with him besides that, probably.
We always had a great time together.
Yeah.
One of the highlights on the planet Earth was sitting in Ringo's living room with Harry. And Ringo was on the couch by himself. Harry was on an easy chair. I was across the room on another couch. And there's two guitars sitting on either side of his couch, a red one and a blue one. And they both have the inlay of the Ringo Starr in the inlay. Gorgeous. So do you mind if I play your guitar?
Go ahead.
Go right ahead. Go. Hootin'. So I pick up his guitar and I started to strum in the key of G, right? G. So I'm going fun down and then Harry, it's in the wrong key. It's in the key of G. The original song was in the key of C. So Harry's singing in a baritone voice. Listen for your footsteps coming up the drive. And I'm going, and then Ringo joins in harmony, which is in his key. And it came out like in a fifth harmony. And it was hilarious. And we played the song, and I'm sitting there with Ringo Starr and Harry Nilsson playing, Don't Pass Me By. I'm going, what the
That's
this
amazing.
You go, do you mind if I use your bathroom? Oh, it's right around the corner. It's and then I go around the corner and I go into the bathroom. And as I'm peeing, I'm looking at the wall. And on the wall is a gold record. And the name of the gold record, I think it was platinum. I lied. It was platinum. So the name of the album was It Don't Come Easy. In the bathroom, taking a piss.
That's
looking
awesome.
at It Don't Come Easy.
That's hilarious. Ringo's so funny.
But that's the kind of shit that's in my book. All the
Yeah.
behind the scenes fun, in the room with Ginger Baker and Eric Clapton and Dr. John backstage. Wow. How many people get to just hang out with these people?
Right.
Talking, shooting the shit, smoking a joint and laughing. I mean, that's I never played music with Eric Clapton. I never played music with Ginger Baker, but I sure as hell hung out with them and smoked a joint.
Wow. That's incredible.
To me, that's, like there's a guy named Andy Warhol, and he claimed that everybody in their life has 15 minutes of fame, right? That means sometime in their life, some really cool ass shit happens to them and they're big, right?
Right.
So that happened to me a lot of times in my book.
That's great.
So there's more than 15 minutes of fame there.
And you even had a jam with Jimi Hendrix at some point in your life?
Obviously, 20 years old.
Many years ago.
Where were you when you were 20 years old?
I was behind a drum kit or something.
Well, that's good. That means you were a creative artist. So you would have really related to this. I was playing a harpsichord. It was an electric harpsichord going through a Hammond Leslie speaker. And it had two pedals, left and right, and bass and treble. And you had these little toggle switches. You can blue and red being treble, blue being bass. So you can send the bass and treble to the left-hand side or the right-hand side.
Cool.
And then you can swish it back and forth with your pedals.
Wow, that's cool.
And then I would bend the note, go hit a note and go book.
Oh.
So I was really into Hendrix. And all of a sudden, the guy I was working for, one of his clients was Graham Bond.
Right.
If you Google Graham Bond, he had Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce in
I've heard that record. Yeah.
Blues rock. And he played the saxophone and the Hammond B3. And he also brought the Mellotron to the United States, 1968. And it's a tape loop.
Right.
It's nothing electronic. It's tape recorders. Each note, 88 notes, have their own tape recorder.
Yeah, it's great.
And they record a violin, a flute, whatever, a choral, girls singing on the tape recorder. So anyhow, it was way ahead of its time, 1968. So Graham Bond invited me to a recording session. And the session was Mitch Mitchell was setting up the drums. I said, holy shit.
Right.
And then Jack Cassidy from the Jefferson Airplane was practicing his bass. And then next to him was Lowell George from Little Feat. tuning up his flute.
Uh-huh.
And then behind him was Graham Bond on the Hammond B3.
Uh-huh.
And then I felt something weird. And I turned around and in walks Jimi Hendrix. And he has one girl carrying his amp and one girl carrying his guitar.
Uh-huh.
And he comes in and he sits down right next to me.
Uh-huh.
And he sets up and turns in and he starts. And I'm just going, what do I do? What do I, what do you do? So you gently come in, and I would go
Mm-hmm.
with the chorale instead of the Leslie. It would be on chorale, which is like So I'd do that with the harpsichord, like a droning A, because he was in the key of A, and it added to the craziness of the harmonics. So we had a great jam. It lasted 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the highlight of the entire jam session, after everything was recorded and all that shit, everybody's breaking down their gear. And Jimmy stands in the corner of the room, and I go over there and he lights up a joint.
Mm-hmm.
And the roadie guy comes over, and we're standing in the corner of the room, the three of us sharing the joint.
Uh-huh.
And Jimmy starts to go with his, like he's doing a lead. And so I'm sitting there, jack, 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 and then the other guy takes a hit and he goes, all these shit.
Uh-huh.
I'm 20 years old, standing in the corner of the room, doing this shit as a power trio with our voices,
Yeah.
smoking a J.
Yeah.
I mean,
Awesome.
holy moly, this is, it's perfect for a book. It's perfect.
So did something come out of that recording session?
There are tapes I have and CDs I have, but they're the wrong ones. They're not the ones with me on them.
No one ever officially released anything from that jam?
Nope. It was Noel Redding was in the recording booth.
Mm-hmm.
He was like helping the engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just jam session. It was a recorded jam session. So it somewhere I'm on a tape, but it has never been released.
Oh, that's
and that was 1968.
Yeah. It's a long time
And that
ago.
was just like 2 years or 1 year after I saw him perform in White Plains, New York. I was still in New York before I came out to California. So it's great to meet him in person and smoke a joint with him and
Very cool.
have fun.
So
Really
there's
is.
also a story, I guess you were with Dr. John and he was getting in trouble with the law or something. What was that about?
Well, he was smoking a joint and he was in a bathroom.
Uh-huh.
And he left the bathroom door open. He didn't give a shit.
Right.
And he was sitting on the John. And so a Canadian cop walked in.
Oh.
And he busted him for marijuana. And we were doing a concert in Toronto. We just got through in New York City playing at Steve Paul's The Scene, where John Bonham and Booker T got up and jammed with us.
Wow.
So right after that, we got in the VW bus and we drove to Toronto. Then he gets busted in the fucking bathroom, and he had to pay a very exorbitant fine at the border for Canada.
That's too bad.
Or else he couldn't play the concert. So he lost money. He had to pay the band and the police both. So he lost. But it was a wonderful show. Holy shit. It was
Did
great.
you play with Dr. John quite a bit?
Well, we did a bunch of gigs together.
Cool.
We did the Roxy. We did there's an old itinerary lying around of the gigs we did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know that on your YouTube channel, you have a song that is sung by Harry Nilsson, but I think is written by you. And it doesn't seem like Harry Nilsson has ever officially released it. It's your song. Has anyone even heard that song? It's amazing.
Harry recorded 35 songs in my living room. The beginning of it was a 4-track cassette, a 4-track cassette, and my synthesizer was a MIDI that went into a converter that printed a time code on track number 4.
Okay.
So I had 3 tracks. So I did programming of my synthesizer on tracks 1 and 2 in stereo, and then Harry's vocal was the remaining track. And it was a Shure SM58 microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a quadriverb for reverb and delay.
Okay.
And that was my studio.
Mm-hmm.
A 4-track cassette, a SM58, a synthesizer,
Mm-hmm.
and I used a ghetto blaster for my speaker system,
Mm-hmm.
That was my studio when I first met Harry. And then it gradually grew, and I got an ADAT, which is an 8-track digital recorder.
Mm-hmm.
And that expanded that. And then I finally got Pro Tools and really was able to expand. But I grew up with analog recording.
Right.
You know, that's the most warmest, wonderful sound ever. Analog, digital does not come close to the warmness and richness of an analog recording. Once you transfer that to digital, then it'll be close, and you're able to edit. So anyways, what was your other question? I went off track again.
No worries. So you and Harry seemed like you were pretty close. You hung out with him quite a bit, huh?
Yes. He had 6 kids and a wife.
Uh-huh.
And he'd always hop in the car, 11:30, midnight, and we drive around till 4 in the morning and sit in the car and sing all of his songs. He had a CD player, and we play all of his music.
I was going to ask you about that.
Along to it. And I'd be going, Kaylan! Couldn't hit the fucking note. And unfortunately, at this time in Harry's life, he was going through a lot of stress and a lot of health complications.
Yeah.
And his trusted accountant, name of Cindy Sims, was his accountant. Mm-hmm. And he had his own company called Hawkeye, and he provided scripts to television and motion picture. So she ripped him off $8 million.
Wow.
He didn't know about it until too late, when the IRS and the mortgage and the banks took his property to 2 places.
Yeah.
And he luckily saved his last home. And it was a very devastating period. And also when he did the album with John Lennon, it was called Pussycats. So John Lennon was doing the Primal Scream. And this is something that Yoko and John developed. And it's where you scream for extended period at full throat. So Harry did it, and he lost his high end.
I see.
Sing tenor and baritone, and but he can't do the soprano. He can do tenor and baritone comfortably, no problem. But when it comes to the "Can't Live," which is full throat, mind you, it's not falsetto, it's full throat. So anyways, he was a genius. He was the sweetest. We were like high school buddies, hanging out all the time, just hanging out. Then when we felt like it, what do you feel like doing? Oh, let's do Mother-in-Law. Remember that? Mother-in-law, Mother-in-law. Old, Ernie K. Doe was the artist's name. And he'd always do, I'd ax you confidently. Instead of ask,
Uh-huh.
it would be axe. I'd axe you. And that's the way the lyrics were with the accent. So
Right.
it's really cool shit. We recorded a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, it was, he's an amazing, amazing human.
Yeah, it's too bad we lost him too early. I feel like
Yeah,
I would have been really good friends with him. I love Harry Nilsson.
yeah, we were going to do a trio with Howard Kaylan, the lead singer from the Turtles,
Mm-hmm.
John Sebastian from the Loving Spoonful,
Uh-huh.
and Harry Nilsson.
That would have been great.
And we were all talking on the phone. Let's do a trio. Holy shit. Can you
Yeah.
imagine? You know, like with Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and what's her face? I forgot the other ones. Anyway, so Harry died.
Yeah.
So all these things we're going to do with Ringo and with what's her name? Carole King
Mm.
was going to come down and do Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow harmonies.
Mm.
We recorded that song, her song called Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow. But Harry Nilsson arrangement. He told me everything to play. Yeah, bass, drums,
Mm.
strings, horns, whatever. He said, this is what I want. And he directed me. And it came out wonderful. It was amazing.
And you produced all of that?
Yeah, all on this synthesizer with the 4-track cassette.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
cool.
I use that MIDI channel to get the nice synthesizer mix, and I could mix internally on the synthesizer. Then later on, when I went digital, it had a optical output on the ADAT. So I went optical from the ADAT to the Pro Tools. It sounded amazing.
Right.
So I learned some tricks of the trade in the early days.
And you eventually produced an album with Howard in 2006? I haven't
We
heard that
did
yet.
we did a concert in
Okay.
Belgium, and on the bill was the Monkees, Procol Harum,
Oh, cool.
the Trogs, Wild Thing,
Really?
uh, um, Spencer Davis, and some heavy metal band I can't remember. So there were 5, and the Turtles,
Uh-huh.
6 bands.
Awesome.
So we're on an airplane flying from Los Angeles to Belgium.
Uh-huh.
And the Monkees and all the English, the American groups were on this flight. So we're all sitting around. I'm sitting with, Mickey. I'm sitting with David. I'm sitting with all these guys. And I sat next to Howard and I said, you know what, Howie? I'll tell you what. If you want to do an album pick 10 of your favorite songs that you always wanted to record, and let's do a Harry Nilsson demo with it. Because he already knew about all the demos I did with Harry Nilsson and Jimmy Webb and Eric Carmen. And, so he knew I was a demo doctor. And I
Uh-huh.
can program all these songs just like the record on the
Uh-huh.
synthesizer. And he put on the vocal. And we did a great demo. And Billy Bob Thornton heard the demo
Uh-huh.
from a guy named David Spiro, who ran the Rock and Roll Museum. And Harry Nilsson actually took a photograph that's in my book of him in a blue bathrobe with a
Uh-huh.
shovel digging the foundation to the Rock and Roll Museum.
Uh-huh.
And we sent the bathrobe and a photograph of it to David Spiro, hoping that he would induct Harry into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but he didn't. Instead, he didn't. But anyway, so he called up Howard.
Uh-huh.
I heard your demo that you did with Andy, pretty good, but Billy Bob Thornton wants you to finish your album in his home,
Oh.
in his studio.
Uh-huh.
So that's what we did. We finished the album. We took all my demos and remixed it and got a band from New York to play on a reel-to-reel machine. Was out of sync with Pro Tools. So literally we spent hours fixing each measure.
Oh,
So
no.
it was all in tempo. it was really a pain in the ass, but we
Wow.
got through the album, and it was a lot of fun working with Billy Bob Thornton. He did a cameo on the album, and great stories,
And
wonderful stories.
how your book, what year does it go up to? What year did you write it? And does it go up to like that point in time, or do you cut off at year 2000 or something like that?
Yeah, I think I cut off at the Hog's Breath days, which was 2013.
Okay. What's
But
that? The Hog's Breath?
it's a restaurant in La Quinta, and it was run by Clint Eastwood and a local family in the desert, mafia, and very Republican and very mafia. But whatever, they used Clint Eastwood's likeness to get, and they had the horses and pictures of Clint and all kinds of shit. So I played there for 9 years. I
Oh,
was their in-house piano guy.
I see.
So I built up quite a reputation, but that's where it basically, my story ends. And, but it's really, that's what it is from my birth, when I grew up, and I loved monsters,
Mm.
and I loved Frankenstein and Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman and Bride of Frankenstein and all these great movies.
Uh-huh.
So that was where I loved classical music. And then, of course, Paul McCartney incorporated, and George and Martin incorporated a lot of classical arrangements.
Mhm.
Eleanor Rigby and Yesterday and the
Right.
String Quartet. My whole influence in music is because of the Beatles, period. End
For
of sentence.
I hear you.
I mean, that's the
So
whole reason.
in your book, do you talk about some of your songs that you've written throughout the years, like the Mooch, and for example? And I saw on YouTube there's a video that goes with the Mooch. I think the Mooch is an incredible song, and the guy who sings it, something Oz, Bill Oz, Bob Oz, what is it? That,
His name was Bill Oz,
okay.
William Oswalt,
Mhm.
but he shortened it to Bill Oz. And he had a dog with the big snout and the patch eyes. I forgot the name of the dog. Anyway, Wallace was his
Uh-huh.
dog's name, and he loved that dog madly. Anyhow, he was one of the best singers. See, I can't sing a song. I can yell, like when we do Glory, I can go tell you about my baby. It's just yelling, but I can't really sing like on the Mooch. I would tell him what I want. I
Uh-huh.
go, and it is what, I can't hit the note, but I
Uh-huh.
show him on the piano the notes I want him to hit. So the all the vocals in that song are my telling him what to sing, but I
Right.
can't sing them. I'm not a singer, but I can sure as hell tell somebody what to do.
Well, it's an
So
excellent composition.
yeah, it's just how all my songs are all my arrangement. That's what I wanted it to
Mhm.
sound like.
That's
So
great.
it's not me singing. There's about 6 or 7 different lead singers on YouTube on all my music that I post, including myself, which on
Mhm.
some songs it sounds all right.
Uh-huh.
But the Geronimo Black single that we chose was Let Us Live, which is, now we were born in a life where man has very control over his destiny.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's
Spoken.
great.
So that's how my vocals were all my life, spoken. So I depend on real live lead singers to sing. And so, yeah, when Harry Nilsson sang my song,
Mhm.
it required falsetto and really high shit. And he was suffering where he couldn't hit the high notes. And
Uh-huh.
he tried to do it full throat.
Right.
And it turned out that he had to go to the bathroom and puke for a minute to kind of,
Oh no.
yeah, it was a
What he was
bummer.
doing, Karen. That's a
So we
bummer.
smoked another joint and we felt
Uh-huh.
better and we finished the song.
Right.
But, if you listen to the song, he was struggling. It was
Mhm.
very hard for him. Forever, it was at the top of his range. So he really we made a trade. He says, Andy, I want to do a gift to my attorney. And it's a song by Glenn Miller called I Know Why. And it's got muted trumpets and the old ballroom dance orchestra. So I emulated on my synthesizer all the shit verbatim. And Harry sang on it, and he gave it as a gift to his attorney. And it's really a wonderful recording. I did a good job. And Harry was perfect range for his key. And then he sang that song that I wrote called Karen, which was my girlfriend at the time that I was dating when I was working with Harry. So it was a compliment to have Harry Nilsson sing your song.
Yeah, how awesome is that? What a dream come true.
Yeah,
that's
total.
Crazy. But did you ever release that song besides on YouTube?
That's it, pal.
Wow, that's amazing.
A demo. It's a demo.
Yeah, with Harry Nilsson. Like me and my friend Colton, we scoured the internet looking for all the the hidden songs by Harry Nilsson while we were waiting for what ended up being called the Lost and Found album that came out a few years ago or whatever. We were waiting for that so much. We wanted so much more Harry, and you have hidden Harry tracks that are all your own.
Well, on the Lost and Found album, what was your opinion of the album?
Honestly, I haven't actually totally taken it in yet. I had a couple of passive listens to it, but I had, it was 8 or so years ago that I was dying for more Harry, and it was more recently that came out, and I kind of forgotten about it at this point, and I know I need to go back and listen to it. But of course it's the hidden maybe garbage. How is it? Is it okay?
Mark Hudson produced some songs with Harry in the studio, 24 track, before I met Harry. Before I met him. And they did a song called UCLA and a couple other songs in the studio, and nothing ever happened. And then after a while, Harry would try to keep in touch with Mark, but Mark would never call him back. Harry would give me a call, and Mark never called him back.
Huh, weird.
At the same time, Harry met me, and I became his pal in the studio.
Yeah.
In my living room.
Huh.
And Mark Hudson would always call up and leave a message. Hey, I want to meet Ringo. I want to meet Ringo. Get me to meet Ringo. And Harry wouldn't do that because he liked hanging out with me.
Yeah.
The very last recording session in my living room, Mark Hudson came down and we did a song called Rescue Boy. And Harry wrote the song like high heel sneakers. Put on your high heel sneakers. And he started off with that. Then he went into Rescue Boy. And it was written about me saving his life and bringing him back into the world of music again.
Wow.
Because he wasn't doing music until he met me, and I brought him back into it.
That's great.
And it was exciting for him. He loved it. And so that was just such a wonderful time. But Mark Hudson made a deal with the estate, Una, Harry's widow, and took my recordings, the 4-track cassettes that I gave to Una. And he took all that shit, went in the studio and removed all my work.
Right.
And kept Harry's vocal on the SM58 microphone. And he kept Harry's vocal. And then he put his own band and his own studio guys. But he did keep on the song we did with Jimmy Webb. Jimmy Webb played that on my synthesizer, which he hated because it had plastic notes instead of real weighted keys. Anyway, so Jimmy played that song in my living room on that keyboard.
Right.
And Mark Hudson used it on the album, and I don't get any credit ever on the album. I actually posted it on my Facebook page, and it shows you the song titles and the songs that Mark Hudson took from me and didn't give me any credit.
We should make a new version. We should make a new version of a posthumous Nilsson album.
I have a safety copy of
Uh-huh.
everything.
Yeah.
And every studio makes a safety copy in case
Right.
the original gets destroyed. You
Uh-huh.
have a safety copy. So I have all the safety copy, but it's up to Una and the estate. And so far, she doesn't want nothing to do with me. She was
Uh-huh.
actually jealous, which I don't blame her. She has 6 kids, and he wasn't home. He was out with
Uh-huh.
me, hanging out like a bunch of high school dropouts.
Right.
He took me over to Timothy Leary's house. Do you know
Uh-huh.
who Timothy Leary
Yeah.
was?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Turn on, tune in, and drop out. LSD.
Uh-huh.
So and he took me to Joe Walsh's house, and
Wow.
he took me to Bill Martin's house. Bill Martin did Harry and the Hendersons. Remember that movie?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Well,
about.
that was Bill Martin's face they used for the face of the Sasquatch,
Uh-huh.
and he called him Harry after Harry Nilsson.
Right.
Oh, so I get to, Harry took me to all of his people that he met when he first started his career, and we became very, very close, very
Yeah.
close.
It's so awesome. So what are some of these tracks missing? Like, should we add some drums to some of these songs? Maybe if we just get them better than the Lost and Found version, maybe the estate will see that you've got the real posthumous Harry album.
Well, if I didn't have a bad fallout with Ringo's attorney, I
Uh-huh.
would have called up Ringo, because I have his phone number still. But
Uh-huh.
I don't want to ever do anything bad. I
Uh-huh.
want to be a good guy. So I would have definitely said to Ringo, call up everybody that loves Harry, and let's go in the studio, and let's take my demo as a template,
Uh-huh.
and then pull off my music and have the real celebrity tribute to
Yeah.
Harry.
Wow.
So
That would be
that's
so
what
much
I would
better.
have done. But Mark didn't do that. He wrote a song called Lost and Found,
Uh-huh.
which is the title of the album. If
Uh-huh.
I played you the demo of, and that's Harry's vocal on the album, but if I played you the demo, my demo sounds much better than his uh, mix that he did live. And then the other song we did, I forgot the other song we did that he wrote. So he got his way. He got 2 songs that he wrote with Harry,
Mhm.
and he didn't give me any credit. So
It's a bummer.
it's in my book. It's in another
But
book that just came out called Harry and Me,
mm,
and it's from England. And they used one of my photos with Harry with the shovel with the blue robe.
mhm.
So yeah, my book is a history book.
Yeah, and
You
a
know,
wonderful history.
yeah, it's got a lot. So many. You look at the index, and it blows me out looking at the index, because there's so much stuff that you can go to and check it out. It's really amazing.
Totally. One last question I wanted to talk about. Did you ever tour a lot with Flo and Eddie? Have you been all around the world and everything?
I toured with them for 46 years,
Right.
actually 40 years,
Uh-huh.
because 6 of those years I was in the studio doing cartoon soundtracks and television and other things, but I wasn't on the road because I couldn't multitask. I was going
Mhm.
through a divorce and I wasn't rehearsing. So I had to play the string, the horn, and the rhythm all at the same time with 2 keyboards, and my chops were down. So they didn't use me for live stage shit, but they used me in the studio a lot because I
Uh-huh.
was able to overdub and do shit. So anyway, I played with them for a long time and did uh, tours to Australia and Europe, and they even featured me as a half of a man. I was half a man in 1980.
What an honor.
Yeah, I traveled to Europe, and I played a left hand Fender keyboard bass, Fender.
Okay.
And then I played a Yamaha electric grand, but it
Hmm.
had strings, but it had pickups. So a Yamaha and that. Then I had a drum machine. It was just this box with buttons, and one was like Paso Doble, where you boom through that chick boom 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 through that chick boom boom boom, So and one of them was rock and roll, boom chat boom chat, so you can
Uh-huh.
adjust the tempo and the speed. and the shuffle, doom to chat, doom to chat, And so I would program all these drum tracks for the show, for the set list. And I'd have a little set list with all the drum settings, and I'd know how the show go. So I'd be the whole band. I play bass, keyboard, and drums, and sing. Wow. So I'd be the whole band, half a guy. I'm half a guy. And Flo and Eddie did a comedy routine.
Right.
And we used to do a routine called The Fence. Instead of Pink Floyd's The Wall, Flo and Eddie's The Fence.
They're so funny.
It was hilarious. We used a rattan picket fence that you get splinters. So we would roll out the fence on stage and get behind it and started throwing up airplanes and balloons and ducks and geese and hippos and all these animals and balloons. And Mark Volman would run around, and I'd have an aardvark as a glove to protect my hands from getting splinters, and I wear the aardvark holding the fence up. And it's just really funny shit. I mean, the 2.5 Man show, and this is way before the television show, 2.5 Men.
Right.
So I was the original half a man.
See?
And I'm really not half the man I used to be.
So is there some good live recordings of that? Is there video footage of that?
There's a YouTube video on my YouTube channel. You can just Google Flo and Eddie SVT, like Swedish SVT is television. Victor Thomas VT, and it's on my YouTube channel. If you go to it's a stupid name, very stupid name, Snarful Homina. Sorry.
How do we spell that? I mean, I'll put links down in the description below, but
yeah, it's spelled S like in Sam, SNAR, F like in Frank, ELHAMANA. Snarful Homina. That's my YouTube.
So
if you put Andy with Snarful Homina, my channel will come up. And I have 650 videos, and I've got 1.2 million hits or something. With all my television shows with Little Richard and Chuck Berry and the Turtles, and all my sailing movies. I love sailing.
Oh,
so
really?
450 sailing movies.
Interesting.
And I have, it's a fun, you can listen, it's just fun. Then, of course, I have all my music on the playlist. You can just hear, 3 albums and 5 singles of my original music, not music that I played with the Turtles or anybody, but my original. So it's
and you've got music from your whole career on that. You have a playlist of your 60s music. You have a playlist that's a little bit more modern.
I have the very first song I ever wrote and I ever recorded. It's on the Euphorian Railway album. So it's all these old demos when I was 14 or 15. I think 15 was the age. But what were you doing at 15 years old?
I didn't have a guitar yet. I didn't start playing yet.
Well, do you remember what the hell was going on in your life?
Nothing as important, because I wasn't playing guitar yet. 16 is when life started, That's when I got the guitar.
Cool. That is so cool.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me today, Andy. Love the Beatles hat. I used to have one exactly like that. Lost it at some point in time.
The Beatles.
Yep, my favorite band of all time. The most famous musician you've never heard of, Andy Cahan.
The same guy, but I'm 74, and that guy was, how old was he? 26? Wow. Maybe he was 26 or 25. How old are you?
I'm 33.
33, right.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a father at 33. I had 2 kids.
Trying to avoid it.
Oh, take me back. Take me back. I want to be that again. Please help. Take me back. I want to do that again. Again.
Well, you had a good, happy life filled with lots of crazy moments.
Does it look like the same guy at all?
You do look like the same guy.
It looks like the same guy?
Haven't aged a day. What are you talking about?
That
Just
is so
lost the
cool.
hair.
That's what I look like. That's hilarious.
I
Look,
like
they're
how
both the same
they're the
size.
same size. That's what I was going to point out.
Maybe I can get a freeze frame of it. Maybe I can
There
just
you go.
bring it over.
We'll pause it. Yeah, we
Well,
need to do a split in half. Split
Yeah.
your face in half. All right, we'll pause this. We'll cut it. We'll make it so that way we can see double your face or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, thanks so much
Anyhow.
for talking to me tonight, Andy. And how can
Yeah.
people find this book? I mean, you just Google it and then they can buy it.
Yeah, my name is too hard to spell. It's Cahan. It's ridiculous.
It's not that hard,
And it's
Andy
like-
Kahn.
Yeah, but it's not pronounced Khan. It's pronounced Khan according to my father. But when you look at the word, it goes Cahan, Cahan. It's got 2 syllables. Anyway,
Right.
Google the most famous musician you've never heard of, and it'll pop up. And this wonderful article my editor wrote in the Best Classic Bands website, the most famous musician you never heard of. And it shows a chapter with Harry Nilsson and Joe Walsh and Timothy Leary and Ringo Starr. And it's just very cool shit.
Super cool.
So
And
it's a lot
you
of
can also
fun.
get autographed copies of the book. Is that right?
Well, yeah, you can buy it on Amazon without
Okay.
an autograph and pay for shipping.
Okay.
But I sell it less money and free shipping, insured, tracking number, autographed. So it's a better deal for me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
If you just go through you personally, if we contact you.
Yeah, that way
through
I can
email or
autograph it
Facebook.
to you and you can tell me what you want to write or
Sounds
whatever.
good. All right. Well, thanks so much, Andy. I guess we'll be hearing from you. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this on social media.
All right. We'll be sharing it so everybody can see it.
All right. Thank you so much,
Okay.
man.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it so much.
You rock big time, Sean. Really good stories with John Belushi and
Oh, wow.
Lou Reed.
Uh-huh.
A lot of cool people came up on stage with us. Frank Zappa.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure you met Zappa several times, huh?
Yeah, with Jimmy Carl Black,
Uh-huh.
he'd come up on stage with Geronimo Black, and then later on with Flo and Eddie,
Uh-huh.
he'd come up on stage with Flo and Eddie. And I actually went over to his house with Motorhead Sherwood and Jimmy Carl Black, and Frank did a song called "Falling in Love Is a Stupid Habit,"
Uh-huh.
and it's on YouTube. But
Uh-huh.
it's playing piano, and Frank is singing, and he's showing Jimmy Carl Black how the song goes. He wanted Jimmy to record it.
That's awesome.
And then I think Frank died after that.
Yeah, unfortunately. Too bad.
Well, everybody's dying. My book has a lot of dead people. It does. It really
Yeah.
does.
It's too bad. Well, hopefully we get at least 20 or more out of you, huh?
Oh, I'm going to live to be 374.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah, I'll be there when they invent fire again. Yeah. You can play an instrument? You can jam
Yeah, I
with
play a
them?
little bit of everything. I'm no
You
pro
do?
at anything, but I've been playing with a piano player lately, and we're working on each other's songs, and I was playing just like kick drum and hi-hat while playing bass and singing. So we got like 5 layers going on just as a duo, which I love. That it's fun.
I did that live on stage. Our guitar player, I keep on, you're recording. This is good. You can use this. I left the Turtles for a while because I couldn't play some of the shit. And I got my chops back up and I joined a top 40 band in Covina. And we played at Sal Pacino's. It was Al Pacino's father, Sal Pacino. And we play there 5 nights a week, 5 sets a night, and all the 50s, 60s. And I was talking about something. Do you remember? Oh, you playing drums
Oh,
and
yeah.
you playing
Oh,
the
bass
multiple.
and-
So our guitar player got busted. The police had an altercation and he interrupted the police. So I was left on stage alone. And I got up there and I sat at the drums, picked up the bass guitar, and then had the keyboard right next to me. I brought the keyboard right next to me. So
Love
I'd
it.
go with the kick and the hi-hat, kick, hi-hat, kick,
Yes.
hi-hat, boom, boom,
Three
boom,
instruments. Love it.
boom, bum, 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 boom, 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 bum, 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 boom, boom, boom. You know,
I
and
love
I
that.
played everything, piano, bass, and drums, and people loved it, and it was fun.
Yeah, I'm
fun.
thinking about doing that on stage too with me and my new piano player. Where I was
There's
thinking,
a-
yeah, I'll just kick and hi-hat and play bass and vocals, and he'll play piano, and maybe he can have a snare or something, you know, maybe he could kick a snare.
There's a kid that my daughter, she's a disc jockey on a Florida radio station, you know, the university. Anyway, she's very hip with all the new shit. There's this guy on YouTube. I forgot. I wish I could remember his name. He wears a fishbowl helmet, a space helmet, and he's got a old telephone, like the old fashioned telephone, as a microphone built into the helmet. So his voice comes out like an old telephone call. And he wears this weird red spacesuit, and he has his acoustic guitar electrified, and it feeds back, and it's steel string, and it's gnarly, and he's just and it's just, and the audience are going crazy. These are
Right.
all young kids, and they love it. And his feet have the electronic kick and snare with his
Okay.
feet.
Right.
So he's going boom, chop, boom, chop, boom, chop, boom, chop, boom, chop, boom, bop, boom, boom, and it's hilarious. It's really a lot of fun to do that kind of shit, you know, with playing multiple
Yeah,
instruments.
I
Awesome.
love it. I've been doing it for years. That's like, for some reason, I get more of a kick out of playing multiple instruments. I actually have some old recordings where I was playing like a lap steel on my lap while doing kick and hi-hat and stuff like that. I love it.
Well, looping is the new technology
For sure.
that's been around for quite some time.
Okay, thanks, man. I appreciate you so much. Hopefully I see you on your birthday.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thanks, man. Okay, I'm gonna push stop.